Hi, everyone. How many of you use Redis or heard about Redis? Good. So Redis is an open store. It started with Salvatore Sanfilippo, which, by the way, created a very nice interview in the market today. You can read it. And most of you probably know that Redis is a very high key-value store. Most of you are using it for caching. But today I want to explain you how Redis became in-memory database platform. And you can run actually everything on it, from analytics to operational databases. A few words about us. We are the commercial company behind the Redis open source. We support the open source Redis, but we also provide the Redis as a service solution, which is called Redis Cloud. It is a very popular service on all the public clouds. And we also provide the on-premise version of Redis, which is enterprise grade. It is called the Redis Labs Enterprise Cluster. For those of you who are not familiar with Redis, Redis became the most popular database on Earth, probably. So these are multiple sources that show that. I won't get into all of that, but practically is probably the most popular database today. But how everything started. So usually when you deploy Redis, you need to have very high throughput. You want everything to run in memory, and you want to be able to serve millions of operations per second at sub-millisecond latency. There are a few evidence for that. This is a well-known benchmark that was published on the Google Cloud that shows how many instances on Google you need to have in order to support 1 million writes per second. The DataStack guys started with that, and they show that they can do that with 300 servers. And then the Aerospike and the Couchbase guys managed to do that with 50 servers. And we managed to do that with only 2 servers. Another interesting benchmark that the Avalon group from the Silicon Valley did, they wanted to see how you can, how fast you can write, you can use a very high-speed data ingest application and be able to maintain sub-100 millisecond latency end-to-end from the user perspective. So the only database that was actually be able to process everything at sub-100 millisecond latency was Redis, and it did that with between 2 to 8 times faster than all the other databases. But Redis doesn't stop here. It's actually a data structure store. It's not only a key value database. It has all these ingredients, of database. It has replication, data persistence, all those. Everything runs in RAM. But it also has these very nice data structures that are supported by 150 commands. Why do you need all these data structures? These data structures practically offload your application load into the database in a very efficient manner. So for instance, if you have a recommendation engine and you want to run it very fast, you can choose, for instance, the sorted set data structure of Redis for that, and everything will run faster and will be sorted for you. Now let's see how the big guys are using Redis. Twitter is the first example. Twitter are using over 10,000 in-memory servers to run their Redis. And they do it with over between half a petabyte to 1 petabyte in RAM across 5 data centers. Now, when they wanted to analyze their data, they cannot ETL it, because every second they run something like 30 million operations. 30 million operations, you need to have a tool to analyze your data. So what they found is that they can analyze their data or inside Redis with Redis, and with Redis data structure. So they're actually using this data structure in order to track and analyze social feeds. The same goes with Snapchat. The same amount of server, the same size of the data set, and they use this data structure in order to track their user behavior. The same goes with Pinterest and many other companies. Pinterest are using Redis in order to serve most of their data, but also to track their users and board activities. So we took the principle of what all the big guys did and tried to submit it to you, to the end users. And we found that Spark is a very good in-memory data platform, but it doesn't have the database behind the scene. If you look at the Spark architecture, so on the right side, you have the data source. On the left side, you have the data sink, and in between, everything is processed in memory. Okay. But this is a very complex process because you need to read everything to the RDD. You need to deserialize, you need to process it, you need to serialize it again, you need to write it back to the RDD and write it back to the storage. And this can be even slower. So what we did, we say, why not using Redis for that? If Spark uses Redis, it can only read the data that it needs, sorted, filtered, process it, and write it back to Redis as a survey layer. And it can also query it with SQL. The end results is amazing because you can process today the data in Spark 100 times faster with Redis versus HDFS, and 45 times faster than Tachyon, which is the caching layer of Spark, and 45 times faster than if the data is stored in Spark itself. So the Databricks guys saw that, and they approached us and said, listen, you have a very nice open source community. We also have the Spark, Databricks supports Spark. We also share similar logos, so why not working together? So in about 8 hours from now, at the Spark Summit, and after everyone will be recovered from the great win of Golden State a few hours ago, we are going to announce cooperation between Databricks and Redis Cloud. Redis Cloud is our cloud service. With one click on your database, you can analyze your data set with Spark. And with one click on your Spark cluster, you can serve your data with Redis. All this information is listed here. And then this presentation is going to be available online. But you may ask yourself, okay, Redis is very, very fast, but it's also very expensive because everything runs from RAM. So this is not true anymore. We developed Redis on Flash. It took us something like 2 years. And Flash is the technology behind the SSD. So Redis on Flash runs on every standard server and actually treats the Flash as a RAM extender. I won't get into the details of how we did that calculation, but this is how it cost. If you want to store 10 terabytes on EC2, it costs you something like $2.1 million a year on a pure RAM. But if you do it on Flash, it is less than $350K per year. And if you want the detail, just ask me later. But Redis on Flash still maintains the speed of Redis. A benchmark is to did with a new Flash technology, which is called SSD on NVMe. We managed to show that we can reach 2 million ops per second at sub-millisecond latency with 1 gigabyte of disk, 1 gigabyte read from disk. This is amazing because we did all that on a single server. But this is not the end of the story. About a month ago, we announced the Redis Modules. Early today, the guys from Intel told you that they create a new database. But the Redis modules practically allow you to create new functionality on the top of Redis and using existing database Redis with very fast capabilities, but with your own C codes. Okay? For instance, we created a few new modules to Redis. We created Redis Search, we created Bloom Filter, we created TopK, and Itamar Haber, our chief developer advocate, is going to explain how you do that in some of the sessions today. And next we are going to create Redis Streaming, which is practically Kafka on steroid, and graph operations, and many, many others. This is an example how fast a module can run on Redis. In less than 2 months of work, we managed to create a model that is 32 times faster than Solar or Elasticsearch in terms of operation per second, and 8 times faster in terms of response time. And this is just a simple C language that uses the internal Redis API. Last but not least, we created the module apps. Now, if you have a great idea for data scientist module, and you also want to get money out of it, you don't want to get only stars on GitHub, you can upload it to the Redis module hubs. The module hub allow you to publish your model across these 3 platforms. The 1 million instances of the Redis open source, the 300,000 instances of our Redis Club, and the 100 Fortune 500 customer of Redis Labs Enterprise Cluster. Now think about it. If you create a very nice model, you can charge for something like $40 a month for it. That means $500 a year. And let's assume that only 1% of all these users are going to use it. I think it is a great way to start your new startup. Thank you very much.